Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by the Nyaraza Group. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today, I'm in conversation with Langelihle Sibanda, the founder and creative director of the House of Langa and the owner of the Edge Cafe. Enjoy this truly fascinating conversation. Langelihle Sibanda. What a beautiful name. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor.
Thank you, Trevor. This is an honor. I've admired you from a distance, and today I'm sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
Ooh, isn't that exciting?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great honor having you, my sister. We've been planning to do this for a while. I'm delighted we're doing it. I mean, I've known you for a while, and as we meet, I must say, you know, sincere condolences. We lost a friend to me, a brother to me, uDumisani Sibanda. Talk to me about the grieving process of losing this amazing man. He was very close to me, obviously close to you as a brother. How has been the grieving journey?
Oh, it's difficult, Trevor. You know, as an African, grieving is one of those things. I don't think we even understand it, because sometimes when we see someone crying with their hands up here, we think, oh, she's overdoing it. And then when you keep quiet, they say she doesn't care. But I have learned over the last 2 months, my brother passed away in December. We buried him Christmas Eve. What I've noticed is, and what I'm going through is something I'm not going to hide. If I feel like falling down and crying, I will do. And sometimes I talk about him and I don't cry. But there are times when I talk about him and I'm a mess. But I'm allowing myself to go through that, because grief is that love that we have for someone that we have lost, that we can't give anymore. And sometimes it collects at the edges of at the corners of our eyes, and it comes out as tears, and I should allow that. But he's one brother that I will miss dearly. Mr Rocca, as you said, a tall guy, a wonderful, gentle giant. But one thing I remember about my brother is when I was about 13, he bought me my first bra. That's how attentive my brother was. He knew that his little sister was growing up, and I remember he put it on for me. And it's a memory that I treasure, because that's the deep love that my brother and I had. And I will continue to miss him, and I will continue to mourn him, and I'll continue to share his story when I'm able to. And he's got two beautiful daughters that I see him. So I have something to look at all the time.
Wow.
I'll miss him dearly, though.
Wow. I mean, Kafi and I were pretty close when we were at university, and when the news broke that he had passed on in a car after a car accident, a friend, Norman Kumalo, who is in the US, I think, reached out to remind me of a day we had one day when we were young and had a few drinks and started a little fight. So yeah, it took me there. It took me there. In Conversation partly started because I'm fascinated by our life journeys and our purpose, and how we eventually get to our purpose, the things that we stumble over, and the things that we go through. And looking at your life, I was like, this is very interesting. A camera started off you on your entrepreneurial journey. You went into modeling. You became Miss Universe Zimbabwe. You represented Zimbabwe. You flew the flag in Las Vegas. You are now an entrepreneur. You started a restaurant, The Edge, and the House of Langa is out there doing its thing. If you were to sum up your life in one word, what would that be?
I think one word would be tough, because I'm such a tall individual. There has to be two at least. I think I'm abundantly gifted. Because I don't think what I've achieved or what I'm doing it all alone. There is a higher power that seems to lead me. And for me to, like you said, from a camera to where I am, and from where I was born to be where I am, and be on a big stage like Miss Universe, for example, I don't think I'd planned that. But God is always at play. He knows my wants, my desires. He paves the way for me to an extent that when I look back at my life, I never thought I would be sitting in conversation with Trevor, for example, because I look at this program, or I look at your show as one of those shows that is the big names in my country, the big names in the world. And who am I to sit here? But I know I'm chosen to be here. So I'm blessed to be here. But my story really starts from humble beginnings. I was born from a father who was an agricultural extension officer, umlimisi, umdomeni, and a mom who was just a stay-at-home mom, but a very smart woman. And I get the strength from her. I get the humility from my father, because all these titles that you've just said can make one lose their way. But I've remained grounded because of my upbringing, and I am blessed that I had the parents that I have, the family that I have. Even when I was Miss Universe Zimbabwe, I don't remember any of my siblings treating me any differently. I will get home, my mom will say, Langa, do the dishes. Langa, you are cooking today. So it never changed who I was, but it kept me grounded, and it left me realizing that no matter how big people think you are, family will always put you in your place. Yeah. I often laugh. I say my brothers, they should be worshipping the ground I walk on. But no, they don't care, Trevor. They still go, my little sister, as my big brother goes, Masbanda. Yeah. And I know I'm being called, and I should do like that. So no, my journey has been a fascinating one.
Shall we start at the beginning? You were born in Kezi.
Yes.
Okay. Talk to me about that. Your upbringing and what your upbringing did to you in terms of your worldview.
Okay. I was born in Kezi, a very semi-arid region in Matebeleland South, and of course named Langelihle by my father, which I think that name on its own sets a tone, because it's always going to be a beautiful day, in my life. And so being born in Kezi and coming from that rural background, I think that on its own gives you your roots, gives you your base. It humbles you. It shows you the other side. I only moved from Kezi to Bulawayo because of the Liberation War. My father being an extension officer, he was viewed as working for the government. So for that, it left our lives a bit in a situation where it wasn't comfortable anymore. And the school that I'd started my grade 1 and 2 got closed due to the war. So we had to move to Bulawayo, where I continued my education, and I went to Los K Primary School. I never went to any fancy schools until maybe high school. But for my base, it was my mom and my dad and my brothers. That unit of love and knowing that I felt protected when I was in Kezi. Even during the war, I was too young to understand, but I still felt protected and loved. And that love, that protection, those values and virtues that I got from being a child and understanding that you work hard for what you get. You don't just go to school and expect results to sit on your lap. You work hard for them. My father was an academic who would love us to be doing better than him. That was always his statement, saying, Langa, whatever you do in life, I want you to do better than me. I don't want you to be umlimisi. I want you to be better than me. And that is when he knew he has lived and he has done well. So I grew up knowing that I have to do better than my father. I also grew up knowing that I'm allowed to be who I am, but I should start with education. So even anything I've done, education had to come first. My father always said to me, if you have education, you have a chance in life, because no one can take that away from you. There are certain things that you can have, but they can all just be stripped off. But education opens doors. Education will give you a way, in a respect that you might not get. And it's true, because when you look at it, even when I started modeling, people respected the fact that I had a degree. And the fact that my father wouldn't allow me to do modeling any earlier, because he was like, nope, modeling is for the people that are less academic.
Let's talk about the education. So where did you start? Where were you educated?
I started at Homestead Primary School in Kezi, which is a very small school, and I support it now, but it's a very small school. And then I went to Losike Primary School, then went to Evelyn High.
Losike was known for a lot of sports people.
Athletics,
yes, I remember that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The one with the red uniform.
Yeah.
I know that one. And then Evelyn High, and then I finished my A-levels at Townsend High School. And then from there, I went to the University of Zimbabwe.
What did you study at the University of Zimbabwe?
I wanted to do law, but I fell short in my points, and I had ended up doing political science and administration. I don't know. In my head, I thought, one day I'll be the first lady president. No, I'm joking. But genuinely, I would have preferred law. But when I look back and the way things have gone, the political science degree became so open. It wasn't restrictive as far as I'm concerned. But law and that reading of volumes and volumes, I don't think it was for me, really, to be honest.
You might know this about me. Like you, I wanted to do law. And I missed law by 1 point.
Oh no!
But I share it because it was a very traumatic experience. I wanted to do law. Yes. I wanted to be a lawyer. In that day, in that particular moment, it was the worst thing to happen to me. But when I look now, like I said when we started, I'm fascinated by what God does in terms of ordering our steps.
Yes.
I would have been the worst lawyer that anybody has ever seen. But much more importantly, that reading of the law books and so forth, I don't think I would be able to cope with that. So fascinating that you also wanted to be a lawyer.
Yes.
You ended up not being a lawyer. And you're saying now that the degree that you have right now is the right degree for...
Absolutely, because...
So God said not law.
He's, like I say, he always sets things... I think we don't realize sometimes when things are happening at that moment, we get so sad, unhappy, question a lot of things because why is this not happening? But I think if you really listen to your heart and listen to God and listen to things happening, I think you will see why you are being led to that. And I jokingly say, yes, I wanted to be the first lady president. That's just me joking. But the subjects that we did, part of the political science, it wasn't just politics. I did social psychology, I did sociology as part of, there were things like public administration and things. But the bottom line is some of the subjects that we did are the very subjects that I still look back and I still use right now because of my chance of doing political science and administration, which at the time my parents were like, you should have worked a bit harder. Yes, I could have worked a bit harder, but I did my best, and my best were the political science level.
The lesson for me there, I don't know if you agree, is that we need to, when it's happened and the change has happened, the door has closed, to embrace the moment, embrace the change and say, well, this is it. This is what's happened. Yes, indeed, we're going to mourn. We're going to tarry around. I wanted to be a lawyer, but maybe embrace what stands before you and realize that God knows better.
And I also think when you embrace what you have and accept the situation, you work with what. It's the same as when a child falls. Can you imagine if a child fell and they never stood up? They'll be scared to move on. The fact that they stand up, sometimes they cry. Sometimes if you don't exclaim, they're quiet as well.
Yeah.
They move on. So I think we should learn a lot from that when you fall, you have to be able to stand up.
Yeah.
And if you do stand up, it's what you do with that. I could have just thought, I don't want to do political science. Maybe let me not even go to university. But the fact that I managed to get a degree and have a University of Zimbabwe degree, to me, that's my badge. That's what I tell people about.
Absolutely.
And the experiences I had at university are nothing that I would have got maybe had I just said, oh, I've done A-levels, I didn't get law, so maybe let me not do this.
How then did you get into modeling? Okay. And I'm like saying to myself, 3 brothers, conservative, father, conservative. Yes. They allowed you to do modeling? Talk to me about that decision.
I don't think they allowed me to do modeling.
What happened?
When I was at university, and at some point, because I'm a super awkwardly tall, gangly, skinny girl, I couldn't wear dresses, for example. But something into my head came in and said, at some point you'll be interviewed. At some point you'll finish this degree, you would look for a job. How are you going to turn up at an interview wearing trainers and a pair of jeans and a t-shirt? And so I started thinking, I need something that will build my confidence. So I approached a modeling agency. I got without telling my parents, just going in. And then,
is this in Bulawayo?
No, in Harare. It's Silhouette Studios. So I went there and they seemed to like what they saw in front of them. And I'm thinking, someone is fascinated by me when I've been laughed at, ridiculed for this height. Why is someone fascinated by this? And then my first lesson, all the girls were there, confidence, and they were like strutting their stuff. And there I was with my rounded shoulders and, really awkward. And then I thought, this is the thing that I need. I had 2 left feet. How can I possibly walk like these women, But with being taught and being groomed, I managed to do that. And I managed to start to enjoy my body more, to accept it for what it was, because I wasn't going to be able to change my body overnight and suddenly I'm short or I'm rounder. I was just going to be this tall, skinny girl. So I started doing that. And then within a few lessons, I was given an opportunity to meet a designer who just fell in love with me and said, oh, she's got a 23-inch waistline. I remember thinking, what's so fascinating about this? So, and she gave me a chance to model for her. Then I had to tell my parents that I am doing this modeling. I'm going to be going to Durban to do this Durban July. It was just really a way of trying to let my father be a bit comfortable. So my father said to me, Langa, if you're going to do this, I think because of the level you are at university, you should be able to prioritize. Don't forget that education remains your priority. If you are doing this, do knowing never to do something that just because I'm not there, I'll frown upon it. And those words stayed with me because I was like, I felt like he was watching me every time. So every time I did whatever I did, I knew that my father would frown upon, it shouldn't be done. So I remained grounded because of that. So the modeling started like that. And then the next minute, it sort of took off in all sorts of amazing ways. And I started, like I said, embracing my perfections in that sense, because yes, I agree, I'm not perfect, but those imperfections are the ones that were now suddenly being looked at as something exciting. I started to love myself, and I often use this word that I am flawsome, meaning I have flaws, but I'm awesome anyway, because there is no perfection out there. There's no one whose everything is right.
What were the brothers? What was their view? Were they as supportive as your father?
They never showed any negativity, but they never encouraged it. I remember doing certain things. Sometimes I'll ask my brother to drive me because I didn't have a car. But my sister was still alive at that time. So she used to drive me more and get me around. But my brothers were just lukewarm about it. They never came to even watch any of the things that I did. But they would want to know, because people got to know that their sister. So you find that people ask, how is Langa? And my brothers would be very fascinated that, why are people fascinated about this girl? This is our little sister. So I was always going to be the little sister to them. But my father was the one I had to tell, because I thought if I just do this and the next
his approval was important.
It was important to me, because this is the man that I adored, and this is the man that I love and trust.
As Nyaradzo, we strive to continuously bring convenience to our clients. Nyaradzo Group is proud to introduce Sawi, a new virtual chatbot assistant on WhatsApp. With Sawi, you are now able to interact with us from the comfort of your home and can be assisted anytime via WhatsApp with life assurance products, diaspora products, applying and assessing your policy, payment platforms, claims information, and any other queries concerning payments, policy information, or products and services. Simply WhatsApp Sawi on +263 712 992892 or register and start interacting and receiving notifications from Sawi on WhatsApp. Now, join in and experience a new level of convenience 24 hours a day with Sawi.
Let's just talk now about what you call your awkward body, gangly, and people laughing at you, ridiculing you.
Yes.
Obviously, you're growing up with boys. You're going to be, is it a good assumption to say you're going to be a tomboy because you're growing up with boys? And how did the fact of people laughing at your body, you're tall, you're thin, what did that do to you? Those two questions there.
It's sort of, when you are young, you want to belong. And when someone laughs at you, you start to question what's wrong with me. Your confidence is brought down. Because it's not just these children or the other classmates, or it was just people even outside there. Because if it's in class, I knew I was going to clobber them in class. I was going to come first. So that was okay, even if they laughed at me. But it was outside where you see someone coming to me and touching my cheeks and saying, he is so cute.
Ooh.
Or sometimes I'll go to a ladies and the ladies will jump thinking a boy has walked in. So all those things were the most uncomfortable. And I think if I didn't have strong parents, that could have affected me really badly, because wherever you are, someone goes ostrich, spaghetti, or giraffe, things that will literally pull you down. And I remember once when I was here at the OK, still OK then in 2nd Street, these two women were talking about me in Ndebele, and they started going on about how thin and skinny and my features, I definitely look like I'm coming from that country where they are starving. And they're talking about me. And they mention the country, but they can't say the name because they're thinking, I will get them, but I'm not.
Somalia, Ethiopia.
Those were the two. So I'm with my sister-in-law. And I'm listening to these women. They're going on about laughing, literally saying, oh, they also look alike. It's their nose. But look at her bones here. Look, they were just going on about it.
And they're speaking in Ndebele, a language that
in Harare. So now I'm thinking, they're thinking they're safe. They're in Harare, they're speaking in Ndebele, not knowing that that's my language. So when you got to the till, I spoke in Ndebele. One of these women just shot out of the shop and ran away. One kept on saying, I'm sorry. And I asked her what she was sorry about. The fact that she was laughing at me, or she was laughing at another country that was going through a tough time. And then she kept on saying, no, I'm sorry. I didn't even think you could. I was like, but is it nice for you to say the things you were saying? And my sister-in-law looked at me with that, are you going to comment? But I didn't, and I let it. So when I did say this, they were mortified. But this was happening to me all the time. And when you are 14, 15, and you're already taller than all the boys in class, even going out with a boy, I couldn't. Who was going to ask me out, Trevor? Who wants to go out with this, giraffe?
Spaghetti.
Or spaghetti, as they would say, spag. And then you get to know that that's about you. They say it out loud. It's not
what did it do to you? And have the scars remained?
Oh, no. I moved on very nicely, but there were 4 or 5 years where I didn't know how to move on. But with modeling and being seen on big stage and people looking at me, and suddenly those that maybe were laughing or talking about me, suddenly they thought, what a beautiful woman. Suddenly I became a beautiful, tall woman. I became elegant. It stopped being something to laugh at. I became something, it's almost like a a butterfly.
You
story.
evolving.
Like, oh, she started off as a caterpillar, but look at her now, she's a butterfly. So I look at myself and I look at my story as one of those that it teaches you something. You got to accept that you are not going to be the best version of yourself if you don't accept who you are first. But people were making me feel like I'm not worthy, I'm not okay. And I've always kept short hair, particularly. I've never been girly. And I remember once I went to a dress, trying to try an outfit for something at Christmas, where you get bought nice clothes because it's Christmas time. And I went to this changing room. This woman screamed, thinking a boy had walked in. And on that particular day, I decided I am just going to wear and dress like a boy, because then that way they won't see that I'm a girl. But I was forgetting.
But you are being shaped
yes,
by this negative body shaming.
Absolutely. But when I forgot that at some point there will become a time when I will have to accept that I'm a woman, because as a girl, you change when you get to a certain age. I forgot that. So I thought I was going to get away with t-shirts and jeans and caps. But there's a time when you literally, no matter what, you are a woman.
Wow. It shows. Wow. I'm going to share this with you because if you haven't heard the story, I mean, I've shared this in one of my TED Talks, and we're chatting before we came live onto the studio, that when I was doing grade 3 out in the rural areas, one of my teachers was expecting, would say to me, Trevor, you are so ugly, you're dark, mnyama. I don't want to give birth to a child as dark as you, as ugly as you. Sit and face the other side, back of the room. But for me, that hurt me. That scarred me. I did believe for a long time that I was ugly. I could not face myself in the mirror because I was convinced I was ugly. Who was I to argue with my teacher that I was handsome? Exactly, that I was handsome. So this is a question that I want to put to you. Words have the power to destroy and to build. Was that your experience with? Was your experience similar to mine at all?
It is, but the thing is, when you are in grade 3, you are too happy to be insulted.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's an insult. You cannot say that and expect that not to have an impact on someone. But words have a way of sticking, and they stay in here for the longest. Because when something is said about you, you become that person, or you become that thing that they say you are. Like for me, when they kept on saying giraffe and all that, I didn't even have a way of saying, but I can't, because I remember my mom. My mom is one person that I remember one day saying to me, Langa, when people talk about you, when people point fingers at you, it means you are fascinating. She gave an analogy. She says, when you are walking in the bush and you see all these trees, they're all green, and suddenly you see a beautiful rose or a pink flower, you stop and look at it. You are that flower, Langa. Because if they didn't talk about you, that means you are just like any other person. You are tall, you are a beautiful girl, you are slim, but accept it and know that only people will talk about things that fascinate them. If you didn't have anything special, no one will talk about you. So I remember thinking, okay, so maybe I am beautiful, but you are hearing from your mother when your peers, on the other hand,
are saying something different.
And you are thinking, I know, is my mom trying to protect me, or genuinely I am what she says I am? So it took a while for me to come to that. And when I did discover that, I started looking at things differently. I remember I started thinking, you know what? A giraffe is actually a beautiful animal. Why was I worried about it when a giraffe is the most beautiful animal in the animal kingdom?
Because it's the way it's communicated to you. Yes. It's supposed to be something ugly.
Absolutely. And someone will be trying to pull you down because people will attack what they cannot attain. Because if they were similar to me, then they won't see the difference. They saw the difference, but they wished they had what I had, but they didn't.
But Langa, is it not also that people are projecting the ugliness in them? that comment is not so much about you being a spaghetti or giraffe. It's about what's in them, which they're trying to project. Is that a reasonable thing to make?
Absolutely, because I think, you know, when even for you, when someone says that, you know, this is an adult, this is a teacher who should know better. But they say that. What is it that they're lacking in their life? What is it that they don't? Because to me, if someone calls me a giraffe now, right now, I'll respond. But when someone said giraffe then, it was hurtful. Now it's like, wow. So yeah, you saw me. You saw that I have these different spots from you. You see that I've got this long naked.
How did you? So the way I think I overcompensated. I became shy. First of all, I became very shy. Couldn't participate and talk because how could I? You know, what status did I have when I was so ugly and so forth? But later on, I became very loud as a way of compensating for my ugliness and all that kind of stuff. I became extroverted when I was actually introverted because I was trying to project this hidden, shy person who has been hurt.
Do you know that's exactly
That's interesting.
Because people say, Langa, you talk a lot, but I do it, and it started as a way of overcoming or as a way of
That's interesting.
Yeah, as a way of not being seen as just told, but I could talk. Because I know I can talk and talk. That I know.
Let me stop you right there. So you decide, I wanted to understand the motivation for participating in the Miss Universe pageant. What was the thought process? I mean, this tall giraffe, spaghetti person decides she's going to participate in this Miss Universe contest. Talk to me about the motivation.
To be honest with you, I didn't look at myself as a beauty queen. I looked at myself, now I had started to look at myself as a model, which in my world, there's two different things. Modeling and beauty competitions are two different things. Modeling is just the way you look. Tall, slim, you fit the brief, that's it. But with beauty pageants, you have to be beautiful, which is a subjective thing. Beauty, someone can look at you and not really find you fascinating or beautiful. But it was about your personality. It was about your intellect as well when it came to Miss Universe and the beauty pageants. And I'd been modeling in South Africa because a year or so before that, I was given a contract to go and model internationally in Joburg with G3 agency. So I had come to Zimbabwe on a holiday, going back to modeling in South Africa, and then I bumped onto the organizers of Miss Universe Zimbabwe. And they say, oh, Langa, why don't you do this? And I looked at them and I was like, but I'm not a beauty queen type at all. And then I remember Yvette, who was the chairperson and the patron of that, said to me, Langa, just do it. It's an experience. And I thought, yeah, it will be an experience. So I entered this competition. I joined it with that thing in my mind. I am not a beauty queen. I am more of a model because I'm tall, I'm skinny, but it stops there.
Yeah.
So I win this title. And I remember for a second when they announced the winners, I stood there and trying to think, what am I going to do with this title? Who am I to be standing on the stage? Remember, I'm a girl from Kezi.
What year was that, by the way?
1996.
1996, yeah.
So I win this title. Everything happens so fast. Remember, Zimbabwe is not one of those countries that has always been big in beauty industry and things like that. Unlike other countries where there's so much support for the winner, you know. So I'm thinking, I'm actually going to Las Vegas and I have to represent my country, the country that I love. So yeah, that whole experience and the thought of it was daunting, but I said to myself, I'm up to it. I'm up for this. This is my chance to speak to the world about the country that I love and represent it the best way possible. So, but getting to Las Vegas now, I remember very well, I kept on pinching myself. Is this giraffe? On stage.
Those words come back to you. You start doubting yourself again.
I met more giraffes there. But I actually was the tallest in my years again. it seems this whole tall thing continues, because I remember I was the tallest. I think Miss New Zealand and Miss Cook Islands were very tall as well. But being there with the other beautiful women from different countries, that on its own it's an experience I will treasure for the rest of my life. And having my flag because what they did is the host country's flag was always going to be the last, which was America. But because flags were put alphabetically, Zimbabwe being the last, my flag was on TV a lot because it was next to America.
Yeah.
So that was, again, quite an exciting thing to see my flag and know that the country's hopes lay on my shoulders.
Huge burden.
It was, but also exciting because I knew whatever I was going to do my best.
Yeah.
Whether I win the title or not, I will do my best. And I went to Miss Universe with this type of hair, short hair. It had never been done, but there I was. Because in my head, I wasn't going to change who I am just because I'm going to Las Vegas. I had won in Zimbabwe with my short hair and I wasn't going to change that. So now when I saw Zozivini winning a few years ago with the same type of hair, in my head, I'm thinking, wow, someone looked at her and saw a woman who deserved the title, not judged her by the way she looked. Because during the 90s, I think we were still sort of in that line where long hair and, beauty was kind of a certain way. And at some point, beauty was about blonde and blue eyes. But now beauty is about what you say, because that personality, your attitude is the one that wins at the end of the day, not just the beauty, the facial look, because that's subjective, like I say.
What did not getting the title do to you?
When I look back, I say to myself, even if I had changed my hair and had long hair, whatever, I don't think I would have won at that time. It wasn't my season. But what I won from that was the experience itself. I remember being interviewed by one reporter who said they chose me to be interviewed because I was the only one who looked real. That one is on. I think it's an award because they saw the real me and wanted to talk to me about it and talk and try and find out a bit more about who I was. So that experience on its own was a win, because for me to have come from Zimbabwe and get to Las Vegas and meet some of the most amazing people. I mean, I met Donald Trump, for example.
Wow, okay.
He was taking over the Miss Universe after.
Yes.
But he was there during our 3 weeks there, and his wife then was the co-host. And I did speak to him because I'd read his book, The Art of the Deal. It was
The Art of the Deal, yes.
And that book on its own made me enjoy, or made me get into business even more, because it wasn't the same line that I thought I was going to go, but the fact that he was brave enough to have started these businesses and became a multi-millionaire. So that on its own was fascinating. But he wasn't this Donald Trump that when we saw when he became the president.
That we experienced.
Absolutely. To me, he was kind of quiet. In fact, he wasn't too over anything. I remember thinking, when he was now going for this, I was like, I've met this man and I've had conversations with him. And I also got the chance to meet Boys to Men. At the time, they were very big. And I remember I was on stage and they were sitting in front, one of the rehearsals. And I was looking at them and one of them looked familiar. And in my head, I was thinking, is that boy from my hood? Is he from Thong?
I saw Ndlovu.
You see someone. Actually, this guy is from Thong Grove, because that's where I grew up. And then when we got backstage, these guys were now at backstage. And I'm like, oh my God, that's when the penny dropped. For a second, I thought, that boy looks familiar. Tell me,
fascinating. So you meet Donald Trump, Boys to Men. I mean, who wouldn't want to meet Boys to Men? What other doors did participating in this pageant open for you, if any?
Oh, quite a lot. Because when I came back from Las Vegas, that's when I started my proper business, and I started the Langelihle. I had a business then designing Langelihle designs, and people supported me, I think, because of who I was. So whatever I put out, people would actually react to.
You became a brand.
Absolutely. I became a brand, a personal brand as well, that they looked and they thought, we can relate to, we know who she is. And I always say to people, a personal brand is one of those things what people say about you when you're not in the room. So, and I started hearing these things that people were saying, oh, let's support our girl. And because I spoke a lot about being a rural girl from Kezi, and I was never embarrassed about that. I never tried to be something else. That opened doors. And I remember very well, 2 years or so after I started my business, I won Designer of the Year. I think it was Rothman's Designer of the Year.
Yeah.
And apparently I was the first Black designer to win that title. And I was competing among the people that were dressing me when I was modeling, who were mega big and extremely talented. And there I was in my small self thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to design something. Let me put it forward. I never for a second thought I was going to win anything on that day, because I thought, oh, well, the recognition is good to be there and people get to know you. But when my name was called as the overall winner, I was overwhelmed. I was like, you know, when you start to think, I'm going to be found out. Someone is going to find out that, you know, that imposter syndrome. I tell you, I felt it. I was like, oh no, someone's going to find out that I'm a giraffe. Not. All I am is just this tall self. But no, it did open a lot. So my business started then, and I had a shop here in Harare, designing and selling clothes, retailing clothes. I had a gift shop. I had quite a few businesses that I started from just being Langa, who has won this title, and the experience of that, running those businesses. I think it's one thing. And I was young, I remember that, saying to myself, when am I going to use my degree? Because in my head, I'm thinking, I've just finished university. I went straight to modeling. Now I'm doing this, you know. That sometimes used to make me think, don't I need a job? Don't I need a job? But I kept on remembering my mom saying, never rely on finding a job. Sometimes you should find certain things that you can do, that can give you something, and also a fulfillment of some sort. Because my mom, as I say, was a stay-at-home mom, but one thing, she was a smart girl. She was a confident woman. She was a tall, beautiful, classically timeless woman. But one thing I learned from her was never stop doing what you want. And don't be afraid of trying things. That's one thing my mom, as much as she was not educated, but she understood life. She understood, again, that as a woman, don't wait to get married to a rich man. No, do something for yourself. She always used to say, don't go there carrying your suitcase. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with carrying my suitcase? You'd be like, no, work so that when you are wherever you are respected, because you bring something as well to the table. So I've always lived my life like that, knowing that I have to work hard to get where I want to be.
As Nyaradzo, we strive to continuously bring convenience to our clients. Nyaradzo Group is proud to introduce Sawi, a new virtual chatbot assistant on WhatsApp. With Sawi, you are now able to interact with us from the comfort of your home and can be assisted anytime via WhatsApp. With life assurance products, diaspora products, applying and assessing your policy, payment platforms, claims information, and any other queries concerning payments, policy information, or products and services. Simply WhatsApp Sawi on +263 712 992892 or register and start interacting and receiving notifications from Sawi on WhatsApp. Now, join in and experience a new level of convenience 24 hours a day with Sawi.
Now, like you said, you know, created House of Langa. You launched it in 2012, hey?
Yes.
So it's been around now for almost
10 years.
10 years.
Yes.
Talk to me about House of Langa, your line of products.
Yes. Wow, House of Langa started off as just Langelihle Cosmetics, which is a mineral makeup line. I decided to start this line as how do I say it? as a way of solving my own problems. Because when I was modeling, I realized that there was not enough makeup shades, foundations for my dark skin. And every time I went for a shoot, the makeup artist would be asking for me to bring my own, which happened again in Las Vegas. I had to be bringing my own makeup because there was no right shades for me. And I never looked at myself as any different. I thought I was just like anyone else, but nope, there was not enough foundations for me. But I started getting to a stage in my life where I started to eat healthy. I wanted healthy options for anything that surrounded me, and skincare became one of those. And I started reading ingredients on skincare, and I'm thinking, do I really have to put this on my skin? So in the end, I decided I'll go the mineral route, because I wanted a makeup line that put my dark skin, my African people, my Black people first, not as an afterthought. Because a lot of the times, some of these brands put a line and say, oh, let's put a few Black options here, because they see there's money. Yes, there's money to make, but I also wanted to make sure my product is solving a problem that I have, knowing fully well there are other women like me who would like to look beautiful, because beauty doesn't have to have color. If I want to have a foundation that suits me, I don't want to have a foundation where there's a difference between my neck and my face, because no one is catering for me. And I remember at some point in the 90s, I look at my pictures even now, I have this gray look, almost a donkey gray color, because someone wasn't using the right foundation for me. And it matters to me that I don't want ever to wear the wrong foundation, because I can make this product. And I decided to research, and I decided to manufacture it myself. This product that we have is not in...
So what products do you have?
I have the makeup line, and at the moment we are working on the packaging for our skincare, and we're introducing a men's line as well, because we have metrosexual men now.
I'm one of them. I'm one of them, yeah.
You need to come in and have proper skincare for men as well. So we are doing that at the moment. We have makeup, we have skincare, but we are now getting into food. We have a condiment that you would understand what this is. Ijodo. Humble.
Is it watermelon? No?
Not
watermelon. It's the one there in the nothing in the porridge, yeah?
Yes, the one that makes the nopi
Yes.
So I found by accident, yes, we do that flesh that we use to make the porridge. We use it for a preserve, which we add ginger and lemon. And then we have the rind, which we use for a condiment that is, you have to have it with anything and everything you eat. It's one of those tangy, sweet, beautiful condiment, but we use the rind, which normally we throw away. And then the seeds of the Kalahari melon, they are extracted to make the oil that actually we use in our skincare. So we are taking this humble Kalahari melon and making it into something else and adding value to this product. And that is my favorite product. And at the moment, we're trying to find a way of having it throughout the year, because they are seasonal and they grow very well in Matebelele South. So I work with women in Kezi who I'm trying to give them a chance to look after themselves, to empower them to be able to have money, to be able to have a job or to create their own businesses. Because again, with the Matebelele South, I read a statistic that says 78% of women in that sort of region are single moms because their husbands have crossed the border and
they're in South Africa.
So for that reason on its own, these women need our help. These women need us to support them, because some of these men, they go to South Africa and they find another family and life goes on. But for us here in Mat South, the women are now stranded trying to figure out how do they take their kids to school. Not every man sends money back home, some don't. So this project, if I do it very well, I believe it will help the women to be able to be financially independent, to be able to look after themselves, and at the same time promote this product that other people just maybe throw away, because I hear some people feed it to
animals, donkeys and
pigs. But for me, I want this product to be a highlight. And then we do teas as well. as House of Langa.
Wow.
We call them the blended heritage because we mix these traditional teas that we have, the Zumbanis, the Rosellas, with other spices and herbs that are not just from Zimbabwe, but in general, so that we can uplift this product. Because sometimes when you just drink Zumbani, it can just taste, not as nice. But when you add maybe a warmer oriental spice to it, suddenly it is elevated to something else. So that's another part of House of Langa. And then, and then we have this particular product, which I hope we have it in stock for you to try.
Right.
We have a Vaseline, call it a Vaseline, but we call it an unpetroleum jelly because we don't put petroleum in it, but and yet it will do the same job that a Vaseline do, a jar that everyone in the house uses. So we have that, but again, we are using, we have more or less like heritage driven because we want to use ingredients that are predominantly Zimbabwean or African, for example, because the rest of the world has been taking a lot of our ingredients that grow naturally to us, from shea butter to moringas, and they go out and make a hell of a lot of money and build big brands from that. And
value adding.
Yeah, and here we are in Zimbabwe, in Africa, we have these in our doorsteps, but we are not using them correctly, or we are just thinking, oh, who wants to use baobab? But that is what we should be doing. Let's enjoy our own ingredients and products and produce and make amazing things and make sure that we do it right. Because when I created Langelihle Cosmetics or House of Langa, I knew that I wanted our product to sit well internationally. So even the branding.
How have the products been received?
So far, the support has been amazing.
That's good.
The challenges were there when it started because there was this mentality, especially back 10 years back, for example. You find that there were people who would rather buy a foreign product, regardless whether it's good or not, because it's made by me, it's manufactured by me. They're thinking, how good is it? But I made it my point that whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to thrive for excellence. It does not matter whether I'm in Zimbabwe. I will make a product that will absolutely sit well with the well-established brands because I wasn't going to cut corners. I had a long term. I wasn't thinking of just selling it and make money. No, I was thinking of building a brand that will last and live and outlive me. That's the idea. So I made sure our products are well made. The quality is amazing. And just to see the confidence our makeup gives to women, it brings a smile to my face. And I look back and I think, why wasn't someone thinking of this in the 90s?
Wow. Are you thinking of exporting at all?
We launched in the UK in 2017.
Excellent.
So we have an online store with our product. And that feedback that you get from people keeps me going. I wake up in the morning knowing fully well that what my hands touch, it makes someone else's life better. Even the price point for it, I was saying to myself, I don't want to be expensive and think I'm catering for a certain market. I believe that as a former Miss Universe Zimbabwe, I was supported by people from all walks of life. So my product should also be accessible to anyone, whether you're in Mfakose, whether you are in Borodale. You should be able to buy this product and enjoy it just like anyone else, because that is my role. I think sometimes you put yourself in situations and you want to touch people's lives. And to do that, you have to be able to be accessible. I didn't want a brand or a product that is so high up there that other people
the majority can't afford it. Yeah, you've launched the Edge Cafe. What's the thinking and what has been the motivation? What fascinates me is that House of Langa, to me, was started because you were solving a personal problem that became a business. Is this the same thing with the Edge?
In a way, because I love food.
It doesn't show, hey?
I love food. I love cooking. In fact, cooking has always been something that I've always enjoyed. And when I started the Edge Cafe, it was mostly to share what I enjoy, my travels around the world, the food, and mix the food that I've tried in other countries and say, this tastes so wonderful, but I would want it, but how do I make it or make it be possible in my country? So I did bring that to it, because food is what I love, and cooking is for me, it's a therapy. When I'm tired, I cook. When I'm happy, I cook. When I'm sad, I cook. So I just cook all the time. So with this Edge Cafe, I wanted a place where people can come and enjoy and be part of me and feel that love, that when I cook with love, I cook with integrity. I use local produce. I try and not even buy a packet somewhere to add into whatever we're cooking. We cook basic food, but with so much love that it actually
what kind of
counts.
food do you make? Do you cook rather?
When we started, it was just going to be the usual muffins and grilled chicken, but done in a certain way, you know, the chicken, the pot pies and things. But then COVID, we opened during COVID. And during that time, when we had stipulations that we couldn't
Was this
open,
deliberate, opening during COVID, or COVID
no,
just...
it just happened.
Okay.
COVID just came, and we had to follow. You know, we had to try and find ways of survival. So when the government said we cannot open, we cannot have people, now I'm thinking, I have this business that all I have is tables and chairs, but no one can come. But I still need to survive. I decided to start cooking the way my mom would have cooked oxtail, the way my mom would cook, you know, beef stew and things like that. So I decided to create this menu that was just for frozen meals, for people to come and pick up. They can cook it, warm it at home, or do it as a takeaway. That, by accident, became so good that when we are allowed to open, people came back and sat and said, can we have oxtail? So I look at this person, I'm like, actually, oxtail is not in our menu. That was just
for a season.
Yes. And then now we decided, no, we have to follow the business. One of my brothers said to me, Langa, don't restrict yourself. Let the business detect. And if it says oxtail, do oxtail. So we started doing chicken in peanut butter, which is a very much West African dish, but one of my favorites. And then we have oxtails, we have pork bones. We have food that just touches the soul. And then when we do
soul food,
absolutely. And then we have burgers that are beautiful, and everything is made fresh. And we support local farmers and butchers. I don't believe that we should be buying things somewhere else when we have so much in our doorsteps.
It's fascinating. My wife loves cooking, and almost like you know, when she's tired, when she's down, she goes cooking. When she needs a lift, when she's excited.
Yes.
But interestingly, when you don't enjoy her food, she gets upset. When she makes a cake and somebody doesn't like it, it's like, is that what you do? I can't.
No, not really, because I think food is also about taste. There are certain dishes we've put out and someone says, oh, okay, or, you know, but
you don't take it personally?
I don't, because I'll tell you why I don't take it personally. Maybe it's because I always try. When someone says they don't like my food, I always ask them what it is that they didn't like about it, so that I improve if ever there is any. But I'm one of those, again, who doesn't like baking, because baking, I cannot tell whether it's going to be good or not. But with food and cooking, I can taste as I go. I can build, and if something is going wrong, I can correct it. But once something is in the oven, and there have to be measurements, I don't like measurements. I'm not good at listening to instructions. so when someone says, put 2 cups of flour, I think, what about 2.5?
Then it doesn't come out nice.
Right. But with cooking, you can literally be elevated, because I love different flavors. And when I go to restaurants or when I go to a country, I want to know what the locals eat. And if it's a fancy restaurant, I want to understand why. Because I've been to some of these. I remember once I went to a restaurant that had won Restaurant of the Year in the world 3 years in a row or 4 years in a row. And I remember sitting there was this 15 course menu, tasting menu. Some of the stuff that I was eating, I remember at some point they brought something that they called not so full English breakfast. I looked at this thing, it looked like they brought an egg, you know, the eggs in their cartons. They cracked open something that looked like an egg. they cooked it in front of me. They put it on top of a bacon that smelled like bacon. I taste this thing. It was ice cream with this thing that looked like bacon. So I remember saying to myself, how does someone get to that level? So that got me liking to experiment. But like, you know, at the Edge Cafe, we have bread, like for example, butternut bread, but we make it with zuio because we are trying to keep the healthy side of things as well. We are not, because I love to eat healthy foods. I'm kind of conscious of what I eat. And so the Edge Cafe is exactly that, an expression of me, that I love my food, but I also like to eat healthy.
Is food your love language? It is for my wife. Food is a love language.
Absolutely. For me, you know, food brings people together. Food, when you eat something or when you think of a smell, like I think of my mom, I think of food.
But the other question is, I had Dr. Solomon Guramatunu. You know where this question is going?
I think I do know.
He would love you with your short, natural hair. And Solomon is very outspoken. He's made a mission of discouraging our sisters and our mothers from wearing human hair and the weaves. Do you have a position on that?
I do and I don't. But, you know, I do in the sense that I think when you're doing it and wearing the long hair or whatever color it is, and you are comfortable, but you still know who you are, because there's a difference there. Sometimes you wear that hair and you lose who you are, you lose yourself. But when you are wearing it and you are wearing it because you're just like wearing another shirt or another dress, it's okay. But what I do know also is, because of the trends at the moment, I've noticed that Black women are beginning to be a bit more happier as well with the way they look, with their short hair, with their natural hair. It's comforting. But what I don't want is people to lose themselves and think they are not Black, for example. Because I always say to people, as long as you know your roots, what the outside is not what your inner self believes. So I don't do long hair. That's out of choice. Because I look at myself, I look at my head, I was like, it's okay. It will do. So a lot of people will say, I can't cut my hair because my head doesn't look right. But it's your perception. It's your comfort as well. If you really feel you can you can be comfortable with short hair, go for it. And if you really think long hair or a weave or a human hair makes you better or makes you feel good, go for it. But don't do it because you are trying to be someone else. Because that is where I think the difference, I think for me, especially with the makeup side and that, the most difficult thing was the people accepting that a product made in Zimbabwe is just as good. I had the challenges also, people saying, how can you start a makeup line or a cosmetics line in Zimbabwe with the economy that we have? I had that, but because I'm the person that I am, I hardly listen to such things, because when you do, they'll put doubt into your spirit, into what you think. I just kneel down sometimes and I say, God, you know better. If I'm going wrong, you will redirect me. But I also surround myself with people that are very encouraging. Because sometimes in life, you tell someone an idea. I can come to you and say, Trevor, I want to start a business doing some beautiful mugs. And then you look at me and say, no, mugs don't sell. There are too many in the market. You find people like that.
Yeah.
So, and then you get to some people, you say, I want to do a mug, and they say, go for it. How can we help? What do you need? So you do all those. So I think you have to surround yourself with the right people if you want to succeed in business. But I also think you should stop comparing yourself with others. Emulate them, learn from them, grow from them, but don't be them. They are walking a journey that you may not understand. Because
run your own race.
Absolutely. But when I see, let's say I want to do a talk show and I'm like, I love what Trevor does. I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to say, I want to do something similar to Trevor, but I'm not going to be Trevor because I cannot be you. But I want to appreciate what you do because you're doing it well. And when people copy you, you should know that you are doing well, by the way.
Absolutely.
That's another way of knowing where you are. When no one does this, you're like, what am I doing?
I'm lonely here.
I'm lonely.
Have you ever failed? And what if you failed, did that failure teach you anything?
I've failed a lot of the times. There's so many things that I've failed at. There's some of them, when I look back, it was my fault, just not having to work a bit harder.
Yeah.
But some of them were beyond my control. But failure to me is a lesson learned. I don't think failure should be looked at and then you sit there and wallow over it. I think when you fail, it means you are learning something, and it means you should be taking lessons from it and saying, how, why, how can I move from here? How can I make myself better? I have failed a lot of the times, and sometimes I've even failed on a personal level in a way. I don't know whether people look at it as failure or it's because I'm being hard on myself. I've not been able, for example, to have my own biological children, and some may look at it as a failure, but from that, I've become a mother to so many people. I'm mentoring them. Some, they come and when they say mom to me, they mean it. And I have one daughter who is, who I can say adopted, I don't know, but she was my sister's daughter, and my sister died, she became mine. And when she was a baby, she never called me Mama Mncane. Not even a single day did she say
your mother.
She always called me Mom.
Mother.
And when my sister died, she was 11. I remember her saying, Mom, I'm sorry about your sister, but I haven't lost anyone, have I? Because she knew, even when I was Miss Universe Zimbabwe, someone phoned the Herald and said, Langa has a child. And they meant that. And that's the first time she discovered that actually
it was supposed to be a scandal.
I think it was meant to be a scandal. But so for me, I can look at it as a failure, but I also say God had a plan for me because I am a mother to many. I've got 2 beautiful grandchildren. So so I learned that being a mother doesn't just mean carrying a child, but being a mother is doing the right by others that need your love. And there's many of them out there that do.
How have you dealt with the stigma of not having your own children?
I think my family is quiet, and that makes it okay. But I've heard people statements that how can like this, she's got this great body because she can't. That's painful. And I always say to people,
because you didn't decide.
I didn't decide. I had miscarriages. I've done IVF, which is quite traumatic and invasive, really, jabbing yourself every day to try and do this. And I remember my mom saying to me, Langa, at some point, you just got to stop because you will kill yourself trying to do this. And I remember saying to my mom, you say that confidently because you have your 5 children. I don't, so you may not understand me. And then, and the fact that sometimes when women say there's nothing more painful than giving birth, I will beg to differ and say there's nothing more painful than actually not having one. So it's a journey that I've had to go through, accept, and say to myself, maybe there's a reason God didn't do that, give me the children. Maybe you would have given me a child that I won't be able to look after. But the ones that I have, that I, and I joke to people that I know I'm too posh to push, so I've got my children that I didn't even have to carry. So I play with it, but it is painful. It's a journey that has taken long for me to accept, but it's a journey that has also put me in a situation that I have this empathy and compassion towards a lot of issues that other people may just brush over or don't think it's important, but to me it is. So yeah, there's a lot that has happened within my life that makes me stronger, gives me more love, because to love a child that you didn't carry and love it like yours, there's no greater love.
That's beautiful. That is a blessing.
There's no greater love.
That is our society is, at the moment, unforgiving.
Yes.
When it comes to that.
Yeah.
Both men and women.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very ugly space.
It is. But you can also not, I think you can only understand, because some people have said to me, oh, especially when I was younger, they'll be like, oh, one day you will just relax, just this. And I'm thinking it's easier to say that because you have not walked in my shoes. You have no idea how much pressure maybe I put to myself. Because I look at it sometimes and I say, what sort of a child would I have had? Would she have been another tall giraffe or not? You know, I will never know. But then I have nieces. I've got nieces who look like me. And that gives me joy. And I'm like, wow, how come Dumi's child, for example, looks like me? And some of her attributes and traits are so much like me. So I am blessed enough to have that around me.
Are you comfortable without space now?
Oh,
because at a certain age, even if you wanted, you wouldn't be able to.
Exactly. No, I am. I am. And I think my daughter, Nancy, sort of covered that gap without even her realizing. And I've been writing about it because I'm just sort of writing my book. And I talk about it a lot. But I say to myself, the fact that she called me mom and she called her mother by her first name, there must have been a reason. It prepared us to be okay. So my daughter, my grandchildren, we are very comfortable. I love them dearly. And yes, there was a time when I saw another child or when I see a pregnant woman, I'll be like, oh my God. But one thing that I've been proud of is the fact that God gave me the strength to move on. I'm not bitter about it.
What message would you have for women who are going through what you're going through right now? The pressure that this has on marriages is huge. Some marriages fall apart because the marriage has not been able to deliver a child, and sometimes our society has the tendency to blame the woman, even if we don't have the facts. It's a huge issue in our society. What message would you have?
I think, well, from now, especially now, I have friends that have adopted children that they have no idea where they've come from. They've adopted and they've given love. So for me, I always say to people, if you are failing to, there are so many children out there that need love, that need a home. Last year or 2020, one of my good friends adopted a beautiful baby girl who, from what we understand, this child was just picked up somewhere. And the amount of love we have for this little angel, we got her when she was about 3 weeks old. So how much more can you not get from that? I mean, this is a baby who knows nothing but you as a mother. So I think there's hope. I know there's this traditional thing and culture
about adoption belief, too.
Yes, that people say, oh, we've heard that. But the bottom line is a child knows nothing. A child comes to you is what you teach that child what they become, not the fact that was born from a different family. How can a 3-week-old baby know anything? Nothing. It's what you teach them that will know. But I also think when you're going through what I've gone through, you need to be strong enough and have friends and family that can hold your hand when it's tough, because it can be tough. But one thing you need to know is there's always a reason. You have to believe, and you have to have your spiritual faith and everything in check, because otherwise it can fall apart.
Absolutely. Langa, you've lived a life that's very inspiring. Interesting that you, in this book, focus on English comprehension, and your story with your picture there is out there to test people about comprehension, and your being Miss Universe is a subject. So you've lived an impactful life. What has life taught you about Langa?
Wow. I think life has taught me that there will be knocks, there will be breakdowns, there will be losses. But one thing that you should always remain true and believe in yourself, regardless how other people view you. Because if you absolutely listen to everyone, that doubt can just crush you. So life teaches you that. And there will be some horrible, horrendous things like we spoke about grief. Those are things that can knock you. And those are things that happen in life. You are not the first person to lose someone, nor will you be the last. But one thing you need to know, and I think you should believe, is to try and look at yourself and focus on things that matter. I say to people, I think at some point, people use a lot of words like calling or a purpose. I think in my life, I am living and in my purpose, because I love this mentorship thing that I do for people. If I can change one person's life, I think my life will be fulfilled. As it is, there are some young people who come to me, and I think on Friday or so, we want to launch this website called A Woman with No Country. The lady who started A Woman with No Country is a Zimbabwean girl who lives in Canada, lives in the UK, so hence A Woman with No Country. But we are creating, I think about 6 of us are coming together to give mentorship to people who are just in life, but with a very Christian, biblical kind of way, where we want people to understand that we are very small in a bigger world, because there's a higher power that leads us, and because of who I am and because of my name, someone wise said to me, Langa, you were named after your father. And I actually got lost for a second, because I was thinking
the son.
Yeah, and then they turned around and say to me, you touch so many people's lives. You were named after your father, because I see God in the son.
Oh.
And to me, that's my life. That I live by that.
Wow, that's awesome, Langa. We delighted that your life is touching many more people. That's a life of impact. I know you're writing a book. You're already in a book, and we look forward to you publishing that book and sharing your thoughts and insights. Do you read? And if you read, do you have any book recommendations that you have for our book-loving audience all over the world?
I do read. I read anything from a magazine to a real book.
Give us 3 books at least that have inspired you.
I like the what is the capitalist? What's this professor? The Nigerian.
Oh, the capitalist nigger, is it? Or
yes.
Something of that sort. Yeah.
Anyway, it talks about the way we run businesses as Black people, as Africans, and it highlighted so many things that I'd been talking about or thinking about, but just never brave enough to talk about and share with other people. So that book actually opened my mind, and that's why I was saying to you that these African ingredients that we have. And it's from that angle that I realized that we have so much in our own continent that we are not utilizing, because we all think what's out there is better.
It's better than what we've got.
And unfortunately, he passed away not so long ago, the professor. Yeah. And then there's another book I read by Shonda Rhimes saying, The Year of Years. It made me realize that we say no to so many things where we can actually open doors. If you say yes to something, find out what it is. Yeah. Because sometimes that's where you get the best of whatever you were looking for. But if you constantly tell yourself, I can't do this, or when someone invites you for something, no, that because I've got something, how would you know what's out there until you start saying yes to everything? To an extent that I practiced that for a while. I was like, let me try this, saying yes to everything. and it worked, because I'm one of those people that suffers from fear of missing out. I don't want to miss out. I want to be part of it. So that the Year of Years made me say yes to a lot of things. And in fact, starting the Edge Cafe and saying yes to that space was because of that book. Because I said to myself, I was petrified. Don't get me wrong. I was like, who's going to come to my cafe? Who's going to enjoy my food? Maybe my friends do, but who will?
Who else?
But I say to myself, say yes to this and see what happens. And there I am. I'm enjoying that. And another book that I've always liked, because I always think sometimes we speak what we seek. is The Secret, the book, The Secret. We said it here earlier that words have such an impact. So for me, I live by, there are certain times where I want to use a negative word, not because I want to, but because that's the word that comes straight into my mind. I will always nudge myself and say, only attract the good things. Speak what you seek. If I'm going to speak about something, let it be the positive something, because the minute you say something negative, I always say to people, you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, today's going to be a bad day. 9 times out of 10 it's going to be bad.
It's going to be bad.
So that thing is like that. And another book that I know I've said more than 3, the mind power thing, that mind thing, it's always something that I always say, it's so strong. You ask me whether I've arrived somewhere at a safe space about this issue that I have. But because of that book, I read it and I remember saying, I need to have a clean mind. I need to have a mind that always looks for the positive and the right things within the environment that I have. So I started finding comfort in the situation that I was in, because now my mind is the one, because everything starts with the mind. My mind started accepting things. My mind started seeing children that needed me. And my mind started opening up to that and allowing those children that call me mom to be part of my life and embrace it.
Wow. What you've just said right there at the end, for me, is powerful, because I'm going through this journey of appreciating the power of our directed minds.
Yeah.
And appreciating the power we've got inside of us. If only we could spend time with ourselves and experience this amazing power that God placed inside of us. So the power inside of us and the power of the mind in shaping who we're becoming, is something that I'm so invested in. I'm reading around that, and it's giving me so much joy, but also so much discovery in terms of who I am and the impact that I might have.
But you already have an impact.
Langa, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for creating the time to join us, Langa, on In Conversation with Trevor. Without you coming on In Conversation, your life has already been impactful, is attested by this.
You.
And clearly your steps are ordered by the Lord.
Absolutely.
And I have no doubt in my mind that there is more where, the ages come from, the house of Langa has come from.
Absolutely.
So we wishing you all the best as you continue to march on, as you run your race.
Thank you.
According to God's plan and purpose for you.
Thank you very much, Trevor.
Thank you, Langa.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Allow me, Langa, to tend to our viewers who are all over the world, who watch this show and have made it the success that it has become. We are out every Monday at 7 a.m. Central African time, to ensure that you don't miss out on any of this quality conversation like the one I've just had now with Langa. Please press on this subscribe button and you'll get an alert from YouTube that tells you that another quality conversation has dropped. We've gone a step beyond that. We've created podcasts for you. If you roll below this video, you'll find a link that directs you to our podcast. Click onto that link and listen. We are also creating other podcast platforms, and we'll inform you as they get ready for your listening pleasure. We read all your comments, the suggestions, we take them seriously, and we thank you for your engaged conversations. Until next time, cheers to you all.